10th, 2023 at 9:30, and we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let the record show that all three commissioners are present: Commissioner Smith, Commissioner Thomas, Commissioner Stone. And I will take a review of the bills, please.
This time I make a motion that we approve to pay the bills have been properly presented and approved.
I would second that.
It's been properly moved and seconded to pay the bills as they have been properly presented and approved. Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Yes. And I will back up 1 minute because I just totally skipped it. Do we have anyone not on the agenda today from the public that needs to be recognized? It's not on the agenda.
Then we'll go again.
Perfect. Anything from our assessor's office? I do see we have something on the tax correction list.
We have one taxpayer error for David Douglas Montague, and that was $760.08.
This time I make a motion that we approve the tax correction list as it has been presented.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded to approve the tax correction list in the amount of $760.08 as it has been presented from the assessor. Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Yes. All right, we'll move along with our 9:31 appointment. We have Shelley Moreland with the RDVIC with a National Stalking Awareness Proclamation. Good morning, Shelley.
Good morning. Did Angie ask if somebody else,
Do you want to?
one of you were gonna read it?
Wanted to read it? One of us can.
Yeah, we have.
Do you have like an original copy?
I do.
Okay, perfect.
This is also it's Stalking Awareness Month, and it's also Human Trafficking Awareness Month,
Okay,
but we couldn't find a proclamation for that one.
do you want to read it? I can read it, sure. Well, we certainly appreciate you coming and bringing light to all of these very important things that you do. Whereas, under the laws of all 50 states, the U.S. territories, the District of Columbia, and federal government, stalking is a crime. Whereas 13.5 million people were stalked in 1 year period in the United States, and the majority of the victims are stalked by someone they know. Whereas 3 in 4 women killed by an intimate partner have been stalked by the intimate partner. Whereas many stalking victims lose time from work, experience serious physiological distress, and lost productivity at a much higher rate than the general population. Whereas many stalking victims are forced to protect themselves by relocating, changing their identities, changing jobs, and obtaining protective orders. Whereas more victims are stalked using technology such as phone calls, text messages, social media platforms, internet posts, emails, and electronic tracking than not using any technology. Whereas there is a need for great public awareness about the nature, criminality, and potential legality of stalking. Whereas criminal justice systems can enhance their responses to stalking by regular training and thorough investigation and prosecution of the crime. Whereas law and public policies must be continually adapted to keep pace with new tactics used by stalkers. Whereas communities can better combat stalking by adopting multidisciplinary responses by teams of local agencies and organizations, and by providing more and better victim services. And whereas RDVIC is joining forces with victim service providers, criminal justice officials, and concerned citizens throughout Preston County, West Virginia, and the United States to observe National Stalking Awareness Month. Now, therefore, we, Samantha Stone, Hunter Thomas, and Don Smith, as Commissioners of Preston County, do hereby proclaim January 2023 as Stalking Awareness Month in Preston County, and applaud the efforts of the many victim service providers, police officers, prosecutors, national and community organizations, and private sector supporters for their efforts in promoting awareness about stalking. Need a motion to proclaim.
I would make that motion that we proclaim January is National Stalking Awareness.
Second that.
It's been properly moved and seconded to proclaim January 2023 as National Stalking Awareness Month and authorize all three commissioners to sign the proclamation. Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And we will just go ahead and we'll sign 2 copies. That way we can have one for our record and then you can have yours.
Do you want to photo, Shannon?
Hmm?
Do you want to photo with them? Sounds excited.
Can I hide somewhere?
No, that's where the photo with part comes in.
Oh.
You can stand behind them if you want to do that.
Back there? Yeah, you can come over.
Mix it up a little bit.
Samantha doesn't like.
A little bit this way. There you go.
Come on over, Dawn.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Shelley. Thank you. And you have your copy, correct?
Yes.
All right, perfect. And then do you have the 2 copies?
I do not.
Okay.
I gave one.
Okay,
Oh,
we have
okay,
it.
okay.
See, we have it.
We have it.
Just making sure.
I was gonna say, if you don't, I can
Time being.
send you
We
another one.
have it. Our next appointment is Justin Wolf of the OEM, but he canceled, so we are scratching that appointment. And that brings us to our next appointment. We have Timothy Davis and Michael Gobatter, Bionic Recycling Center, Disposal and Processing. He's putting on a presentation for us today, so we are prepared to be educated on.
It's good stuff. I think you guys will find it quite interesting.
I'll fill in the sign part.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
As Commissioner Stone introduced, I'm Timothy Davis, my business partner, Michael Hovatter, and we are Bionic Tire Recycling. And what we intend to do in the county is provide quality jobs with a quality place of employment with better than average incomes. In fact, when we did the submission for the REAP grant, we had to do a study from the census, and we, by putting this plant in Preston County, will raise the median income level for a household by about $4,000. So the median income is about $36,000 per household now, should go up to about 40, provided we do what we need to do. Okay, well, I'm gonna have to move over here. It doesn't have enough range.
You're good.
You were we getting?
You guys can go
I
up.
need to plug in. I forgot one of my cards.
Nah, all the little.
A little radio deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that, everybody.
Bluetooth connector.
There it goes. So this gives you an idea of our plant layout. There are 5 machines, and it doesn't really tend to give a big picture of how large this facility is going to be. It's 152 foot wide, 265 feet long, so it's almost big enough to put a practice field for football on the concrete floor. Most of these machines weigh in excess of 53,000 pounds and stand about 16 feet tall. They are industrial machines that, if properly taken care of, will last 40, 50, 60 years. Our first machine in the process takes in whole tires. It will process whole tires into shreds about 4 to 6 inches at 15 tons per hour. And to give you some idea of how much 15 tons is. There's about 13 tons in a 53-foot trailer if they're properly stacked. So about 1.2 53-foot trailers per hour we can process. All of our facility will be under roof. There will be no tires stored outside. No finished tires will be stored outside. If driving by our facility in the industrial park, unless you came inside, you would have no idea what was going on in there. All of the machines, like I said, are industrial machines. They're very easy to work on. You can see the stands that go in, so the maintenance guy here is safe. And it's a dual purpose. It lets people get inside to be able to work on it, but also at the end of each shift, we can open that up and evacuate any rubber from inside the machine, which completely eliminates the risk for fire. But we do have the entire building sprinkled, and we can put 10,000 gallons of water on the floor in 9 minutes. So we hope to never have a fire. And all of the processed material will not be in the machines at the end of business. After the first machine, people say, wow, there's wires sticking out everywhere. What are we going to do with that? Our second machine makes what's called wire-free chip. Through a proprietary process, we pull 100% of the wires out. If a magnet detects that there's still wire in there, it reprocesses that piece of rubber. It will kick it to a reject belt and it goes through again. In this form, it can be used along roadways, abutments under bridges. It reduces vibration, it reduces noise, and it prohibits vegetation from growing. Whereas wood mulch, it rots and becomes fertilizer. It makes more vegetation grow. And that's something you don't want around concrete or under steel bridges. And it lasts longer than limestone, and it does not scale off and make white drip places everywhere from limestone. So the process here shows taking the steel out, and you can see from how clean the steel is, there's no rubber left on the steel, but there's also no steel left in the rubber. At this point, once the steel is gone, the first and primary use for that material is on playgrounds. So we've taken the tires from here to here to here in 2 machines. And the machine that does this is the wire-free chip machine. Those 2 machines are owned by Bionic Tire Recycling. And that is really the only thing that Bionic Tire Recycling owns. At this point, in any other job or any other plant across the nation, this is where the tire processing ends, because it's a disposal company. The disposal company has cells that are like a landfill, but it's called monofill, and they put the tires in the ground. 4 or 5 feet of tires and then 2 or 3 feet of dirt, and they just keep doing that and interlacing it in the ground. We do not require a monofill or landfill, but we can donate this to the Hovatter Group, and the Hovatter Group can continue processing that material. So again, we have nothing outside. There are no tire piles, there's nothing for water to stand in, and we're not going to bury these tires in our environment. One of the companies that does that in West Virginia, it's in Summersville, it's West Virginia Tire Disposal. On their website, and they brag about having a grant from California, and they bring 1 million tires a year into West Virginia, grind them up, and bury them from California. I don't know how many of you are proponents of out-of-state garbage, but I really don't believe in out-of-state garbage coming to West Virginia. But if we bring those tires here, we're going to 100% recycle them, so there won't be anything buried in the ground, and it goes back into post-COVID supply chain. Again, it shows this machine, the blades, the things that cut the rubber and process the rubber. They're easy to get to. Everything is hydraulics. It moves away so the maintenance people can get in there and not get themselves hurt and be comfortable enough to move around. The next thing from this machine on is called crumb rubber And some industries refer to it as ground tire rubber or GTR.
That'd be for like turf.
This can be used for a lot of different things. It can be under turf, any kind of sports field, any kind of equestrian operation, whether that's a practice indoor stable situation, say stables, stalls, all the way up to trotting paths, competition arenas. And that all depends upon the size. There are some equestrian entities out there that are recalling rubber because it's making dust and it's doing a lot of things that dirt did. And that is problematic because the person who sold them the rubber sold them the wrong size rubber. If you're using it for equestrian tracks and trails, it should be something about the size of a jelly bean. That way it doesn't harbor any dust or anything of that nature. And some of the products that goes into, I'm sure most people in the room here have been in a daycare, and these interlocking floor tiles probably look fairly familiar. About 30% of those floor tiles is either EPDM, brand new rubber, or recycled rubber. And with the amount of recycle available, there's really no need to make more new rubber, other than the new rubber requirement or content that must be in those products. Each of these machines will have 3 screens, so we can do the different sizes of finished material. And at the bottom, it gives examples, like the yoga mat would be the bigger pieces, then underlayment for sports fields, and then the mulch application for commercial or industrial playgrounds. Each of the machines have different options for packaging. We can package in poly bags, we can package in bulk sacks. And part of the reason the machines are as high as they are off of the floor is there are rejects or packaging directly below the machine itself. When we started down this path a couple years ago, our only retail product that we were thinking of was mulch. Everyone asks the question, what are you going to do, mulch? Well, yes, we're going to do mulch, but it is no longer our only retail product, and I'll get to that in a little bit. Most of you probably have some experience with an inkjet printer, right? So we get every color in the color spectrum with a color cartridge and a black cartridge. And there are 3 main colors that go into the color cartridge. We are going to have 5 base colors, so we can do a better job at matching whatever color you want to have matched than an inkjet printer does. And just as a reference, the only more sophisticated printer or color combining machine is the printer that they have at the Art Institute of Pittsburgh. It has all 8 base colors. So we're somewhere in between an inkjet printer and what they can do at the Art Institute. And process this rubber, it goes through, it gets sprayed with color, it gets sprayed with UVA, UVB protectant. It'll have a 10-year warranty on it, and we can produce any color that you can imagine. Once we get past the crumb rubber and the GTR, we enter into rubber powder. And rubber powder is from a certain consistency or a certain size all the way down to nanoparticle, which would be smaller than baby powder, talc powder. We can go that small for processing. It rotates in between 2 stainless steel drums, and those stainless steel drums are traveling at a high rate of speed. They're also moved closer together, and one of the drums has an abrasive or a rasp type grinding apparatus on there. And then on the bottom, there's still the availability of 3 different screens. So in this process, we can provide components for asphalt paving, and it's called RMA, or rubber modified asphalt. It is a safer asphalt than what we currently use in West Virginia. Once we're open, we will begin lobbying with the Department of Highways and getting support to make RMA the primary mix for West Virginia. It increases the PSI loading and it avoids rutting. And I'm sure everybody can see when it rains, there's those two lines of water that run down where everyone drives. When you use RMA, you eliminate that because you increase the PSI handling of the road surface itself. So if you eliminate rutting, you virtually eliminate hydroponic. Michigan, New Jersey, and New York have already adopted RMA to be used exclusively on their interstate highways, their tollways, their byways. And they've noted about a 60% reduction in wet weather accidents as a result of using RMA. It's time to move towards that in West Virginia. In addition to the RMA, it can be used in seal coating, where they come out and cover your driveway with the seal coat. Used in gasket applications, the rubber part that goes around the cylinder head or a water jet, whatever those canals are called in an engine, I'm not sure. Even down to brake pads for your car. There's a component in the rubber that's referred to as carbon black. It gets processed down to it's a hard, chalky substance. It has better braking than standard brake shoes. And most major luxury car lines use those brake shoes exclusively. So Mercedes, Lexus, Infiniti, BMW, all of those cars, you'll see the front wheels as they don't clean them, they'll get that black powdery stuff. That's from these brake shoes. But they do not destroy your rotors, and they have 70% more braking capability without heat than a standard lifetime or semi-metallic brake pad. At the very end, we see all of the different processes. You can see the overheads where they can vacuum out any dust that would create. The shop environment is a clean type environment. And this machine, primarily for the rubber powder, doesn't have to sit as far off of the ground because it just feeds a belt that goes to packaging. Our facility is going to roughly resemble this 3D architecture drawing. And it's a pretty big building. When I started this presentation, I only had a PowerPoint presentation prepared for the things that we know about when we started the project some time ago. We spent some time in Utah with the people who manufacture these machines. So we've decided to add a compression molder to our lineup. And what you get with a compression molder are rubber tiles. They can be used inside, outside. They can be used for patios. They have the same protective 10-year warranty. You can have that in any color that we can do mulch in. And we also can produce turf in that application.
How big of a mat can you go?
How big of a mat can you
Yeah.
have? This is a standard size mat. I think it's 2 feet by 2 feet or 18 inches.
That
by
way they,
18 inches.
yeah, that makes sense. That way they can just lay them down.
Right. And the neat thing about these is, let's say that Target sponsors a soccer competition or a travel team, and they want to have the competition end at Target, but there's no soccer field near Target. Well, we can come in and set this up. There's pins that store themselves in the back, locks all these tiles together. Then they roll it with a vibrating roller, just like asphalt, and everything's locked together, and it looks like one piece of play area. The cool thing about, if they put it on dirt, the little knobbies in the back sink in so that it can't move. If they put it on asphalt, all of these grip the asphalt, but it gives water channels, so if it rains, the water passes right in. I have some examples of the mulch that we can do. I can pass that around the room so people can see. These are just 4 of the basic colors. some of the rubber component, this is still a crumb rubber. It's not down to powder rubber yet, but you can see it's pretty fine. The other stuff comes out of another processing machine, but we'll be able to make something very, very similar to that as well. You can see that's some pretty fine stuff, but it's still crumb rubber. And those kind of look like broken toothpicks. So the reason we came to the commission meeting today is we have to file with the Public Service Commission because a tire processing facility is considered a solid waste. And Public Service Commission protects people from getting overcharged and that kind of arena. And when we talked initially about the project, it's Bionic Tire Recycling and the Hovatter Group. Bionic Tire Recycling is the disposal side. The Hovatter Group takes the disposal tires to keep them from going into a landfill, processes them further, and that's the retail side of our business. The Public Service Commission staff has voted to put the two entities together and regulate pricing. And they really have no legal basis to do that. We are under the same roof, but we're two different entities. As an example, First Energy, or most people know it as Mon Power, West Penn Power, Edison Power, under one roof, they have a company that is regulated by the Public Service Commission so that customers cannot be overcharged for their power. But also under that same roof, they have a sales force that goes out and bids retail work, like stadium lights, parking lot lights, transformers for large businesses, substations for large businesses, and they're just out there competing with the others to get that business. So if they want to pull our retail side into being governed because in their opinion it's under one roof, then quite frankly, any other business out there who has retail and disposal or retail and regulated under one roof should have the same principles applied. So if they set the precedent by forcing us to combine the two, then I'm going to move that all business in West Virginia that's regulated through the PSC has their retail side also regulated by the PSC.
So you're asking the county commission for a letter of support
A letter of support,
to this Public Service Commission.
that is correct. And we want our disposal and retail sides, which are owned by two different companies, to be separate and approved separately. You know, they really only need to worry about the disposal side. Once they approve for certificate of need, then the Department of Environmental Protection takes over from there with permitting.
So I have some questions. So
Okay.
what's their reasoning for that? Like, who would own the building you're going to build?
The Hovatter Group owns the building and leases everything except the first two machines to Bionic Tire Recycling. Bionic Tire Recycling occupies the building and owns machine 1 and machine 2. They are directly involved with the disposal.
By combining these two entities, what they've done is PSC, in its infinite wisdom, decides where they cap the profit margin. By doing that, what they do is they basically hamstring the Hovatter Group because then they can only make a certain percentage. That percentage is not enough for them to effectively operate because it will be eaten up by costs,
I understand
maintenance, and
that.
everything else, so they won't have any money left. So in a sense, they basically are saying, we're going to bankrupt you because that's what we want to do.
Well, I see a huge need in the area for something like this. I think a lot of, not only, citizens could benefit from the jobs and, whatever it will bring to the economy. However, also looking at the flip side of things, we have a lot of nonprofit groups that go around and clean our streams and do other things and tires. And is that part of the model also that you guys would take tires and?
Yes, that is part of the model for the days where they have Amnesty Day, the big day in West Virginia. Those tires we will process for no charge.
Great.
Adopt a highway, we will take those tires for no charge.
I mean, I definitely see a need. Do you have any, like, so you've been communicating with the state on the matter?
That's correct, yes. And they filed that we should co-join or file jointly with Bionic Tire Recycling and the Hovatter Group. We did an appeal, and yesterday we received a response to the appeal, and it stated basically the same thing, that we should reapply joining both companies. So at this point, it will go in front of an administrative law judge to make that decision. But if they make the decision to put the two companies together, that will virtually end the process. So we'll have between 17 employees and 48 employees. The lowest paid position in this company pays $20 per year, or $20 per hour, which is $41,600 a year. When you add benefits to that, which will have medical, dental, 401k, vision, long-term and short-term disability, that position becomes about a $62,000 or $63,000 a year position as a total package. That is the lowest paid level in our building. And like I said at the beginning, we are increasing the median income level for Masontown Reedsville, according to 2020 census data, by about $4,000 per household. Our payroll for just the Bionic Tire Recycling side is about $464,000 a year. For both companies, it's quickly approaching $900,000 per year. So when you have that kind of money put into an area, the trickle-down economics, the things they buy when they go to lunch, the things that they buy for their house, the cars that they drive, it affects the economy all the way around. And when we started this process, people wanted to know how it was that we began. The Solid Waste Authority of West Virginia had white paper on their website from 1998. And I modeled our business plan after that white paper. So it was something Solid Waste Authority wished for, but in their own white paper said will probably never be attained or obtained for the state of West Virginia. We are doing just that and going beyond. So we do ask for your support.
Yeah, I have one question.
Yes.
When you were doing your presentation, you talked about the rubber, but is there a repurpose for the steel that you take out of it? What is the repurpose for that?
The repurpose for the steel is a class 1 steel. It has to meet federal requirements because you ride on that every day. That steel is about 2 grades below stainless steel. And in that classification, and as clean as it comes, so with no debris, no rust, none of that stuff, it's about a $400 or $500 a ton recyclable.
Where would you take that to?
There are places in West Virginia that take it, and there are steel mills it could go directly to in Pittsburgh. It is considered a non-skimmable, non-ladleable steel. And what that means is if you crush a car, and you put it in the pot and you melt it, there's paint, there's plastic, there's all kinds of things. The rust is an oxide, it comes to the top, has to be skimmed off or ladled off. There's none of that in ours. They ladle it, or they heat it, melt it, and pour it. They mix it with the inferior steels that come from recycled cars and other recycled steels to make new fenders, new hoods, whatever. It becomes a roll steel product that goes to car manufacturers. So from our tires back to your cars.
What's the deadline for the letter of support if we do one?
We would like to have a letter of support prior to February 1st, if that's at all possible.
And then, so say you get the letter of support and they would approve to separate Bionic and Hovatter Group, what would be your next step moving forward?
The next step is we are currently working with the West Virginia EDA and Robbie Baylor's here from the local EDA for a loan package. So if we can close the loan package sometime in March, that would be beneficial to us. We have a bank that is going to do the interim financing and take us through the whole construction build phase. We have already used personal money to do deposits on certain things so that we can freeze pricing. So we need to move forward because it could be personally devastating if it doesn't move forward.
The one good thing about this too is they're not just recycling the rubber and the steel. Literally, what was when you only had like a percent, when they get something, the percentage is so minimal for what goes on.
The maximum disposal that will go to a landfill is about 4% of the 2,200 tons that we take in per month. So the average for a single shift is 2,200 tons per month. And our waste from that will be right around 104 tons. And that's pieces of pallet, beer bottles, pop bottles, cigarette packs, gum wrappers, those kinds of things end up in tires.
Yeah, way better than just putting it directly into a landfill.
Right, if you take your tires to Weston and they grind them, out of 1,000 tons, I think almost 1,000 tons goes in the ground.
Correct.
So,
So they're kind of defeating the purpose of recycling them.
well,
They're technically not recycling. although
Yeah, they're just grinding it up.
Making
Their
it easier to
process.
store
Easier
is what they're
to- yeah.
doing. So, yeah.
Well, I'm not opposed to doing a letter of support at all, and that would just take a motion to do a letter of support.
I would like to move that we do a letter of support for. Letters of support to the certificate of need.
Public Service Commission
The Public Service Commission
advocating for the certificate of need.
advocating for the certificate of need for Bionic Recycling Center.
That was second.
It's been properly moved and seconded for the Preston County Commission to do a letter of support to the Public Service Commission advocating for their certificate of need to get this project started here in Preston County. Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
yes. We will get that done in a timely manner, and then we'll bring it back for us to sign and then get it to you.
Did, hey Tim, did, Delegate Street get hold
to who?
of Delegate Street?
George,
George Street?
Yes, George Street.
I given him your phone number to get a hold of you, so that's good.
We could contact, we could probably have that with them by next meeting, right?
we'll just need a little bit more information, and we'll catch up with you guys after the fact to take care of that. Thank you for your time and your very good presentation. We appreciate that.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for working alongside with our Economic Development Authority up to this point. Very much appreciated. And thank you for reaching out.
You guys are knowledgeable and you've definitely done your research. So you went out to Utah to that manufacturing
Yes.
plant for, what was it, green?
Eco Green.
Eco Green.
In Salt Lake City, we flew out, did a very short trip, but it was a great trip. It was, we learned a lot. They learned a lot about us. They actually gave us some work products that we didn't even get a chance to touch on, to go into the infrastructure. The big infrastructure building's gonna be starting. We can make products for it.
Yeah, some of the stuff, honestly, Tim, talking at length on the phone the other day, some of the products that they can turn this into, it's like, big thing. It's really fascinating, some of the stuff you guys can do.
When we started this process, we had 8 retail products.
Mhm.
By adding the compression molder, as long as we buy the molds, we have over 300 retail products we've been able to produce here in Preston County.
Yeah. Scratch down in there.
Thanks again for allowing us to be here.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
All right. we'll go ahead and approve the minutes.
I move to approve the minutes.
I will second that.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve the minutes for December 13th, 2022. Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Yes. We have some estate settlements to approve, or one.
I would like to move to approve the state settlements list for Franklin Todd Rexroad for December 30th, 2022 through December 30th, 2022.
I will second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve the estate settlement list, December 30th through December 30th, 2022 for Rex Road. Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Yes. PIVs?
This time I'd like to dispense with reading the PIVs and accept them in the record for December 29th through January 4th.
I would accept that.
It's been properly moved and seconded to dispense with the readings of the proceedings and vacation and enter them into record for December 29th through January 4th, well, December 29th, 22 through January 4th, 2023. Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Yes. We have nothing under the fiduciary commissioner today. Brings us to our old business EMS ordinance discussion, and I don't believe we have anything on
We have
the
any-
ordinance.
We have any work sessions coming up?
Probably not at this time.
The only thing I would ask is, you guys have, if you have anything you want, I've emailed you the draft ordinance.
Yep, I have it. I'm
And-
just reading through that. Well, I'd really like to, schedule a work session if we can.
Well, if you have anything you'd like to add it into it, email it to me, and then I can go ahead and put that in the draft before we do the work session, and it's already there.
Okay.
So if you have anything, send it to me.
Okay. We have a lot coming up here in the next couple weeks to get going. I'm working with Justin. I'm not sure that we're quite to a solid date yet, but if you want to get something scheduled, I guess we could get it scheduled for after we come back from Charleston.
I mean, I'd just like to go ahead and put something down on paper and then we can
Sure.
work behind the scenes on it until that date.
Sure. All right. Do you have your calendar, Dawn? Let's see if I-
I'm a beautiful paper. Okay,
But
so,
if you want to do it, it's going to be either the 17th or you're going to have to wait for a while because of the other things going on. And then the next time will be not until basically the 9th.
how about, what do we have on the 24th?
We are in Charleston. I think.
Charles, that's right, with UMass for the
Yes.
UMass Day.
Unless you want to do it on the 25th, which is the day after we get back.
My intention is to go back to Charleston. We come home on the 24th, and I'll be going back down for EMS Day at the
Yeah,
legislature
I'm gonna be back.
on the 26th. So I would prefer not to
Okay.
have it on the 25th, just because there's a lot going on that week. I prefer to wait till after we go to Charleston. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on,
Yeah, a lot of
lobbying,
good
a lot of good
information.
information to bring back to the work session.
Well, how about the, 31st?
That's
We can, that's our Tuesday, so
Yeah.
right after the meeting, we can tentatively schedule that.
I have a CUB.
So that meeting won't
so that
start
means-
until then.
Correct.
Okay.
I mean, I'm fine with whatever, but
I believe the 31st is our first Board of Equalization.
It is.
Board of Equalization.
As well, so.
I don't think it'll be an issue though, because I don't think that, you
Yeah, we
usually
can
don't
go
have a
ahead.
whole lot of people.
Just put that tentatively on the calendar and we can look and see if there's any conflict of stuff. It's kind of hard on the fly here to
and then,
get that scheduled.
Dawn, I'll come up with everything I have to
Okay.
give to you.
All right. All right, new business. The 911 Advisory Board requests board member appointments. They would like to appoint Owen Evans and Sean Lambert. Owen's term will be expiring December 31st, 2024. Sean Lambert, term expiring December 31st, 2023. Is the first thing, and then the second is the E911 Communication Center request board member appointment of Mariah Mallory with a term expiring December 31st, 2025.
Do we need a motion for that?
Yes.
Yes.
I move to approve the 911 Advisory Board's request to appoint Owen Evans for a term expiring December 31st, 2024, and Sean Lambert, term expiring December 31st, 2023. And E91 Communication Centers request board member appointment of Mariah Mowry, if I'm saying that right, to a term expiring December 31st, 2025.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve the appointments as advised from the 911 Advisory Board for Owen Evans and Sean Lambert, and also the E911 Communication Center request for Mariah Mowry. Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Yes. Moving on to our county coordinators report.
Okay, first up, the commission, it has been requested that we be provided with the status of the ARPA requests. We do have that new list. The uncommitted ARPA funds number still remains at $449,140. You see we have projects with agreements to be signed. Ms. Baylor has been good about getting me the information for the three of those, and we've been working with Amy DeBerry at the Kingwood office to get the fourth one together. So we should have those ready to go for signings in the near future.
Thank you, Joe. Do we have any discussion on ARPA?
I mean, I personally don't. We do have some outstanding requests. And at this time, I mean, we were to a point, I believe, where we really weren't looking to allocate additional funding at this time, just because of, we have some needs also that we need to take care of. And so we were just kind of holding tight to see how everything was going.
And I agree with that, but I don't want them to sit, their request to sit and them thinking that they have potential funding when they may not.
Correct, and unless we, approve it, there's always a possibility that we could fund them. That doesn't stop any of the organizations, in my opinion, from seeking other funding. As we have seen, there is someone that has been awarded federal funding, so depending on, what that looks like,
That will change it up too.
it'll change some things. So it's kind of a moving target, I guess, with the funding that we have left. We do have some outstanding things. I would love to see, to be able to do something for a couple other of these organizations here. But until they have everything that they need, we can't really commit funding to it. That ARPA funding has a deadline to it. You have to commit it by a certain date, and you have to spend it by a certain date. And so if they can't meet those qualifications, then we don't want to do that. Our needs, of course, with some of the things that we have coming down the pike, with the sheriff's office, flooding, we have some potential additional upgrades that we could do along in conjunction with the insurance money, that when we're getting that facility back, there's just some of our personal needs that we could meet the requirements to commit and spend the money. So we just need to really take a good look at that. And if you have some other stuff that you'd like to talk about there, we certainly can do that.
I mean, I understand that. I just think that ARPA funding was originally intended to go out to the people. I know they changed it later down the road. But I just feel very passionate about spreading it out throughout the county. And I think we need to take a good look at some of these, because they're really good projects that need funded.
Just to note and to catch you up, of course, everyone knows our commissioner here is new. We did take a good hard look at that when we were initially fulfilling requests to make sure that we did reach every corner of the county. Broadband took in a lot of that need. And I would like to point out, as we talked about the Denver Water Association, That's something that I think we all are in agreement, we would like to, but at this time,
They
We
are
can't.
not
Yeah, I know
prepared.
they're not at the point.
Yeah.
And I
they're not
I
at the point.
understand that, but that's one down the
Yeah.
road that I
Sure.
think we should take a big look at.
and, our coordinator pointed out that there's a 75,000,
There is a design phase that's in
Okay,
in that estimate.
Potentially fun, that could be our contribution.
but I'd also like to point out that, by us funding a project through Parks and Rec, in the southern tier of the county, that did, put some ARPA funding down in the Tunnelton area.
You know, I'm not arguing with
Trailhead.
you that it wasn't spread out, I'm just saying the Denver Water Association would be,
It would be
One that
very good, and
yeah.
it's one that I know Robbie's been a part. I mean,
I need to talk to you about that one.
okay,
I'm just hesitant about it. They have, are a little disorganized on what they need is what the problem is with that right now. And until they get a little more organization about what they actually need.
well, and the good thing about doing the design,
That would
funding
be
that,
big
it needs done
help.
regardless, and so that's
That
not
needs to
throwing
be done no
money.
matter what.
and even if they were in a
Yeah.
transition period, that would still be
Yeah.
useful.
Correct.
And then like the town of Roseburg, I know we probably couldn't fund the whole project there, but I think we could definitely do a portion of it. And is there anything outstanding, like information we need from the town of Preston? Mills?
Let me pull that folder out. I know at one point we were discussing, that there were bids in, right, they listed. It would probably move them to provide at least the one bid for 24,947.
Right.
We would want to see any kind of engineering and studies that have been done, any kind of, well, the more information, the better.
I think we have the bid on file, don't we?
We did. I assume it's still, it seems like that we did on that one. It seems like they gave us a copy of the bid on that.
Yeah, I think it's in our, I think it's on here, honestly. Sandy. See, here's a bid, a bid right here. On our one drive. Right?
It seemed like we did get a bid from them on that. That's why that number is there.
All right. I do not have a copy of that, so let's look there.
I think that's where that number came from.
I think so too. I just can't.
And they,
It's been a while
remember,
since
they
we-
weren't requesting the full amount, I think they were wanting a match, so the actual bid amount is, or the actual project amount for the one bid is 22,500. So I think they were just asking for a portion of it.
All right, the last request that I had from them was, that they were looking for $30,000 from the commission, but we marked it down that because the town received a bid of 24,947,
Right.
that was the number
Is that,
that
so,
we would consider.
so they ended up getting a bid for 29,470. Is what you're saying?
In this information here.
I think that, yeah, we're definitely have to sort that out. That bid we have on here may be an old one.
This one. Yeah, that bid was from 2020.
Yeah.
That's the latest one.
We're have to sort that one out, but I'm gonna say you're right, the 24,900 is the current bid.
Yeah, that's the most recent one they got. They had two other bids that came in between $27,000 and $26,000, and then that one was for $24,947. So,
One thing I would like to do, is, you know, we have West Preston School come and they were looking, for some funding. I'm going to be speaking with Ms. Yost, concerning this, and I believe that the county commission allots money to the Tucker Foundation and also your community foundation, and those organizations do interject grant funding back into projects in Preston County.
I would completely agree with you on that one, that there is a lot more funding avenues out there for.
Along with
Playground.
the Board of Education, that's
Well,
part
yeah.
of, something that I believe is more along the lines of things that they fund. If we give money to one
playground,
school, there's
we're
a lot of schools with a lot of needs, and there's just not enough money for the county commission to fund schools
And I completely agree on that statement.
on that. So I'm gonna reach out and see, I've worked, prior to my tenure as a commissioner, worked a lot of times in organizations where you volunteer your time and fundraise and advocate and raise a lot of money. I've served with Mr. Hovatter on youth league organizations, and I just feel that there's grant money and other things that they can obtain this funding in another way.
I'll definitely be up for helping them with that, yeah.
Okay. So,
And then, to speak on Friends of Cheat real quick, I'd love to fix Bull Run Road, but that's just a temporary repair for 1 year, maybe 2 or 3 years, and that's really not something in our wheelhouse. I think that's more of a DOH issue, and we would just be patching it, and ARPA is intended for long-term solutions, and I think that's a short-term solution there. It's something I'd love to do, but if you put 50,000 into that, the holes are just gonna be dug out within, you guys would know better than me, a couple years, if not a couple months.
okay, any other discussion for ARPA today? Good?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay, perfect. All right, we'll go ahead and
I think Joe's still on here.
move along on our coordinator report. Next up, we have fire levy board election.
Yes, and it really should have gone under new business, but it showed up to me. So you will have a copy of the letter for the newly elected fire department levy board with Fred Barlow as president, Franklin Schnapp vice president, Terry Barlow secretary, and Don Witt treasurer.
This is just informing the
So this
commission of
is-
this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't need to
On
move
that.
that. Okay. Thank you, Joe.
All right, P card update.
P card update, everyone should now have their new P cards. We're still undergoing training sessions with it. There were a couple of issues that had to be dealt with, magnifying glass because the security codes were just slightly off from the.
Yeah, I saw the
Side,
printout, it was
so-
kind of skewed up.
Are they replacing those cards, Joe?
No, we were able to identify the numbers
Okay.
properly. They do check out. So
Okay,
we were ready to do replacements for anyone that was completely illegible, unusable, so. All right, Board of Equalization and Review. We had a typo in the letter that goes to the Director of Property Tax for the Department of Tax and Revenue. And that date actually would have ended our open session before we would have the final one.
Right.
It was set for it closed on the 16th, and talking with the state, they approved February 17th for any minerals cases. So my apologies, we'll need to run through that again so that we can get the new letter down to the state. So with that, in the letter is the motion that would need to be made to keep this rolling.
and the legal notice?
It's right here.
In.
Okay, okay, above
Right
it.
there.
Okay, got it. This is your motion right here. I'm doing if you see it there, you can.
Yeah, it's set
Actually,
up.
it says Commissioner
Yeah,
Stone moved.
Yeah. Well, that's up above.
Okay.
Down below. But yeah, it does.
It does.
It
All right.
does.
All right. Move that the 2023 land books and personal property tax remain open for changes through February 17th, 2023.
I was saying,
It's been properly moved and seconded to keep the personal property tax open for changes through February 17, 2023. Yes, Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Sorry about
There we
that.
go.
I saw Commissioner Stone and I was a little confused by that.
Okay,
Do we need to, I guess we should have done it beforehand, do we need to take care of what we originally had set into motion? Do we need to retract that?
I don't think so. This is amending.
Yeah, we.
The dates.
This is just adding that extra day, so.
Okay.
yes.
All right. Move along.
Anything else?
And you will see there that behind that is the legal notice that will be going
Yes.
out. So,
All right. That takes care of everything for the Board of Equalization, correct?
yes.
Okay.
All right. Also in your packet, you will find another late correspondence concerning union ambulance.
Yes.
So, Mr. Delacour, who was here at the work session and one of the meetings here recently, is requesting for union ambulance to receive funding for 2 stair chairs. The ones they have are about, they're from the early 90s, so.
Well, they're just not adequate. I've
They're
had
not.
some lengthy discussion with him about this. Pam Thomas of Camp also is advocating that we, look at funding this request to help Union Ambulance. I'm not opposed to this. Actually, I'm very, in favor of funding these stair chairs. One thing I would like to see, if we're going to consider this today, is that we mimic what we did for the heart monitor for Masontown Volunteer Fire Department. I think I really like the contractual agreement there. That way, Union is a volunteer organization. If they close their doors, then that equipment would revert back to the county and we could continue to use it or give it to somebody that needs it in the county that can use it. So I would like to proceed with this, if we would like to.
I mean, I'm totally for it, but this is the first time that I've seen this, and I would really like to dig in for a week before we take any official action, to be honest with you.
Okay.
They said they don't need this amount until January 23rd, so that's.
We have another meeting
Mhm.
before then.
I mean, I don't want to be a stickler on it, but I just want to do a little bit of,
Well, what I would propose if we were to entertain it today would be that we take this from the CARES funding.
I would agree with you on that,
And
yeah.
It's $7,994.58. And the part
That's what I
that
was
makes
gonna
me feel a lot
suggest,
better
too.
is all the work that we're doing to help EMS. I believe this is important. All their volunteers, their equipment is inadequate as far as the stair chairs go. That's very outdated, making their jobs even more
Well,
difficult.
on that note, I mean, we do need to go ahead and do that contract up like we did with Mason Town, so give us that time to do it before we can vote on this next week. And
Yeah,
like I said,
I'm
I
totally
am in
I'm
agreement with
totally
you.
for it, I just want to research. it
No,
a little
that's
bit.
fine, that's fine. But, I mean, like I said, we have a week according to his letter, we have
Yeah, I
actually
would
2 weeks.
appreciate it
We have
if you
actually
told
2
off
weeks, so
this
that's
one.
not,
Okay.
that's fine.
Thank you.
And that gives us time to get that contract together and also to look at that'll give us also an update too on what's in care, what we still have in CARES money at with this
Mhm.
proposal, so that we know what's left, so that's fine.
If you want to put this on the agenda for next week, that'd be perfect. All right, next thing.
All right. As you're probably aware, February 2nd is Preston and Mon County Day at the legislature.
Yep.
February 2nd or 3rd?
Second.
It is the second.
It is the second, I thought it was the third also, but it's the second.
Thursday the 2nd.
Yeah.
So they are looking
They'd
at
ask for
sponsorships.
We sponsored this last year, I can't remember. I think he did 500 or 250. I can't remember.
Last year,
Me personally,
I can't remember what we did.
when I was in high school, I loved attending this event, and it really is a great thing for Preston County and the kids that attend it. And I know that, the people down there really like the buckwheat cake, dinners that are made for them by, kids at PHS, from PHS.
that is what is set up for this year as well, right?
Yeah.
High school
Yes.
kids are doing
Yes,
that.
yes.
That's great. What have we typically done in the past?
I am unfamiliar with the sponsorship
It
levels.
seemed like
I couldn't
we
find
did-
anything right off the bat.
I can't remember the exact amount, but it was either the 500 or the 250. I can't remember. But I know that's what it was, because it was for signing, but I can't remember what it was. I want to say it was 500, but I might have more than that.
We have opinions on, have anything to say on this?
Well, I think that we need to put some money towards that. That's a day that we go
Yeah,
down
yeah,
and
I definitely
lobby
agree.
for things in
Do you
the
wanna go
county, and
I'm
it gives a
thinking
good
5.
presence.
You want to go with 5?
I'm thinking
I'm
500.
leaning towards 5 because I think that's what we did before, honestly.
You know, I mean, we're the county commission, and it's the Preston County Day at the legislature, so I think, I would like to move that, we sponsor the Preston County Day at the legislature with the $500 sponsorship.
Second,
It's been properly moved and seconded to sponsor Preston County Day at the legislature with a $500 sponsorship. Any more discussion? Commissioner Thomas?
Yes?
Commissioner Smith?
yes.
All right, and, Judge, we will take that out of contributions.
Yeah.
Correct. Yes,
Okay.
I should have said that, but,
Okay, last on the list is just a reminder that Monday, the 16th is Martin Luther King holiday, so offices will be closed.
All right. Brings us to our commissioner comments. Commissioner Thomas, do you have?
We have an update from
They're
the,
not coming.
Oh, yeah, he's here.
I'd like a little bit of an update, just to
Yeah.
We
keep
can do
you
that.
informed.
Just a quick update on the sheriff's department.
Can we, just to, for keeping me on track when we get to the bottom there, can we list him? And if he's here, we know he has something, and if he's not, then he doesn't.
It's on there.
Because every time you're here, I'm just like,
Yeah.
Right.
and it's not on my paper, so I tend to, I miss that, and I
No, no
apologize.
big deal, we love having.
It's down there at the bottom, but I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
I just assumed since you were here, it was here on the agenda, so I figured you were gonna talk to
I
us.
was hiding in the back row with Nicole. Good morning, commissioners, and good morning, everyone. Just a quick update on the sheriff's office. Things are moving along very nicely. As some of you may have heard, Service Master did a great job. They came in, they took out 3 dumpster fulls of junk. They extracted all the water. They had dehumidifiers and fans there for a while. I believe due to their, as everybody is so busy with all these recovery efforts at this point, they reached out to us and asked if they could, we had said if we could get folks to do the putting things back. So they reached out to us on Wednesday, and we reached out very quickly to Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration, and they was here Thursday. So it worked out really good. We have a really great guy here right now. His name's Tim. He has an update for us every day. The update for today, he had folks doing the demolition yesterday, and they come last Thursday or Friday with the dehumidifiers. They came yesterday with heaters and more dehumidifiers, and they set them up. Now today, and I have to apologize to Samantha because they had a meeting at 11 yesterday to start the 3D imaging. So they will use a 3D imaging machine, and they will make an image of the entire building. And this is very helpful for the insurance company. So now the insurance company can go back forever and look at this image, how bad things was. And then when they get it completely done, of course, there'll be an image, so there'll never be any question. That's very helpful to the commission and us to have a blueprint of the building the way it is now also.
Yeah,
So
to the
now,
insurance company.
as our sheriff is all very serious about security, they ensured the sheriff that all of these emails are encrypted. so that no information about the sheriff's office and things that, things that have to be kept secret will be divulged to anybody. There's absolutely, and they also work with the FBI all the time. So this Tim was very informative to Mo and the commission and me and Joe and everybody. So also, it's very comforting to the commission and me and everybody involved that Panhandle is made. They have shared with Joe and I twice. They will be here now till the end. There will be no lapse in service, and they will be here until the job is complete. And that makes everybody feel, really good. So yesterday, and Samantha came, and she saw very quickly that the uniforms, there was several uniforms for the deputies down in the basement, and they had gotten really wet as well, and they were starting to go through. So Panhandle quickly come up with a solution that they have their own laundry and wheeling, so that they were able to take the uniforms, back again to Mo's point. They had to be cataloged to make sure that every single thing made it back. They had no problem with that, so that will happen tomorrow now. We thought it would be today. So today, right now, the demolition is held off so the nice guy can do the 3D imaging. So as soon as he gets ahead of them, they will start the demolition again. So as we all know, one small holdup, which is being worked out very quickly, is the files. And, to Panhandle and everybody, us and everybody, we would love the wet files to be dealt with. Most of the files now, we know exactly what to do with them. There's still a holdout up in the files for the sheriff's office, and they are very quickly, the sheriff's staff, figuring out what can be destroyed and what cannot.
It's really getting the answer on the retention
Yeah,
periods.
So we appreciate Hunter gathering up the probation folks and also chipping in down the basement. It was very quickly figured out that the carpet was still there, the paneling was still there, the water was behind the paneling, so they did a great thing. They did a lot of work really quickly, with filling up the dumpsters, getting the wet junk out of there. So that seemed to work out really good. So moving forward, we will get the files out, we will get the uniforms out, we'll have the 3D image, and then we of course will continue with the demolition.
With meeting with the insurance adjuster, we know there's gonna be a claim and there's gonna be an amount of money that's gonna help us to get everything back to what it needs to be. In being over there a good bit and seeing what's coming out, it seems that we should really heavily investigate the possibility of some new wiring, that system in there, all that wiring behind all of that. There's a lot that's not in use, that's just old wire that was left. A lot of things that I feel while we're down to the bones of the structure that we need to correct and fix before we go just putting stuff back up over it.
I
So,
think we could,
I
I think we could all agree on that, because when we poured the basement out, there was like 5 junction boxes 2 feet apart from each other.
it's just a lot of years, it's a lot of years of,
I know they pulled a lot of the wire out when they were
So,
redoing
I think
the
that
fiber, but
that's a
still,
good
there's
direction
still a
to-
lot to be done.
So to Samantha's point, she did bring up to the insurance adjuster that when it was completely cut or whatever level they will demolish it to Samantha's point, we ask if we then can update the electrical or anything we decide to update.
It would just,
That would be the point they would allow us to do that.
I said yes.
And to everybody's point, just the Hunter and Samantha's point, because everybody's been over there, you go and there is, none of the wires are in the junction boxes. They're just exposed wires, maybe wire nuts, maybe not,
electrical tape.
yeah, electrical wires. So to Samantha's point, it's a big situation that has to be dealt with at this point when we're done with the
That
demolition.
far in, there's no
My
reason.
opinion on it would be, since we're that far in, there's no reason we shouldn't if we have the funding to completely redo the plumbing and wiring on the inside.
Right. So it has been very rewarding to me to see everybody, all 3 commissioners, the sheriff, and everybody work together as a team. At seemingly crisis like this, when you come together, everybody has came together. Everybody has come up with alternative plans on the spot to make things work out, and it's been, it's been a really great process so far, and we was able to switch gears so quickly from one restoration company to the other, and that is all, that has all worked out really good. So the sheriff's office is coming along very nicely, and it has a long ways to go. And in the end, it's nice that now we can make these upgrades with electrical, plumbing, or whatever else is needed, any sort of communication wires that have to be ran at that point or changed. So it's going to be an amazing opportunity for the sheriff's office to get,
Yeah, it definitely
much
wasn't,
needed upgrades, so.
it definitely wasn't a blessing, but it definitely is an opportunity, and I think we should take advantage of it. And I'd like to thank Joe and the sheriff for holding everything down during this the big flood of, what do you call it, 2022?
The Christmas.
The Christmas flood of 2022.
So,
I don't know if you take comments from the audience or not.
Go ahead.
Since you're down to the skeleton and there's a bunch of different wires from old builds and upgrades, I would suggest putting a chase system in with cord so that when technology increases again, you don't have to, you can just pull it.
That's
as
a great
opposed
idea.
that's a very good
To
point.
opening the wall and doing it again.
Especially with the fiber optic and phone and all that.
That is a very good point, and that will definitely be looked into. Now, as we all know, the 911 center is a new building, and it was built with all this in mind. They have troughs even in the cement floor for the future, not only the ceiling, but.
Well, but getting down to skeleton is your best
I
time
mean,
to
it
do
could
it.
just be a PVC pipe in the wall, and that would do it, yeah.
With a pull cord in there, that way. there's-
Yeah, if you got the conduit was already got the
Possibly from the comm room to every room. We've even used, we did other jobs, and previous jobs in the past where we took your advice and we had that very system from the communication room to every room for the future. Someday we believe that there'll be fiber to the room, not to the house or the building, but to the room, to speed things up, so.
That's a really good recommendation.
Yeah,
We'll have to make sure we do that.
Anything else as far as the sheriff's department
No,
goes?
nothing else as far as, sure, I think we're all good. So just quickly, little minuscule business, the folks contacted us out here at the corner and they had dug up, replacing the new soft lights, and they had dug up and found an old clay tile line. They contacted me and Bruce, and we come out there really early this morning, and we tracked the line dead ended, but out of abundance of caution, we went ahead and repaired the line, just in case. But we believe it went up to the corner of the annex, and it used to be a brook drain, because that's where the snake led us to.
Okay.
So all that has been taken care of very quickly, so that project, we're not holding them up.
Did they dig the other corner up a little bit on the courthouse lawn?
I believe, yeah. So that was the communication line between the stop lights. So, yeah, so I'm sure that they will repair, and I'll be there to make sure they repair everything is back to normal. Now, as we all know, the Price Street sidewalk is not the very nicest sidewalk anymore anyway, so, but that's just the way it goes and the way the replacement of everything. So other than that, we are, as soon as possible, we're taking care of work orders. Very, very quickly, Hunter, to your question yesterday, it turns out on the third floor, when you walk through the door and the door shuts, in that area, the common area, there is no heat.
Okay.
But the judge quickly figured out he was opening one of the conference room doors.
Is that what the problem was?
So the fellow that made the complaint about the heat, he just basically didn't know how the whole situation
Well,
worked.
how that worked.
But once the judge come and, he said, well, we need to open one of these doors.
And let a little bit of heat.
But really, truly, I guess there was truly no heat situation, so.
Okay, perfect.
So thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day. All right, any commissioner comments? Do we have anything, Hunter?
I mean, me, Joe, and you attended the EMS advisory meeting last week. That was a really good meeting. We're just trying to figure out what we're doing coming up. I think you're going to head up some lobbying for EMS funding in Charleston. I think all three of us will join in on that. So just trying to get funding for the EMS in the county and getting their input on a county ordinance coming up. So it was a really good meeting.
Anything, Commissioner Smith? This isn't really a comment, per se, I just have a question for Robbie. Sorry, let me catch up on. You work with Christie a good bit when it comes to Preston County Day. For some reason in my mind, I had it that it was the second and the third, so is it go down on the first?
Go down on the first.
And you're
And the
there for the second? That
Yeah,
actually works better for my schedule, because
That's
I was
what I
like,
was doing. Oh, yeah, that's what's up. They're having that reception, if you go
On
to
the
that
first.
email. that
yes,
they
first,
sent
yes.
out.
And I don't know where I had gotten the second and the third, other than it's a busy time and it's Groundhog Day.
Well, I think there was a communication that went out at one point that.
It was the
Said that,
third,
okay.
it really was, originally it was the third.
Okay.
And I think they
Like
shifted it a
6
little
months
bit,
ago.
Do you know of any
That is
meetings
so
that she has scheduled, so that we're not scheduling anything on top of what she's doing? Because I'd like to join forces with that and not be doing double work.
She is still communicating with Mon County.
Okay.
On
Is Mon County still doing their box lunch stuff?
Yes, they are.
Or doing
That's
their
part of
Well,
that.
we can-
Did you?
I got an email originally, and I don't know that I've seen it. It could have come in. I mean,
Yeah,
my
it's-
email gets
yeah,
flooded,
it's-
so.
The email, it has the actual, the sheet, and actually has a link to the hotel reservation, everything. Just watch when, if you're gonna make a hotel reservation, because it wants to put you there for 2 nights instead of just 1,
Okay, yeah, we don't want
so.
to. Okay, that's all that I really have there. All right, and then, actively working through, just a couple more things concerning, some road complaints that have come in.
I've got a few too.
Yeah, and so, it's always good when we go down to Charleston, that we do typically meet, especially on Preston County Day with the DOH. I know that Delegate Street has been in contact with me a good bit, and we're sharing some resources to just get some things addressed that we really feel need addressed. Our DOH, I see them out all the time working, doing different things here and there around the county. I don't think that it's not that they're working. I think we lack some equipment that we need, and they have to wait because another county has it to do certain tasks and different things. And so it ultimately, every time we hit the brick wall with the DOH, it's not that they're not doing anything. It's equipment and the
They're
funding
just working
source. We
with
run
what
out of
they have.
money or whatever it is. So we're going to continue on that, and I definitely look forward to this session to be able to maybe
Do some lobbying on,
stuff there. So anyway, that's all that I have today. If no one else has anything, we didn't have any budget revisions, so we are good. This meeting is adjourned. You need to sign.
I need to sign.
It's the minutes that we approved.